I just wanted to introduce our next guest speaker, which is Belinda Everett. She is someone that works with women and children from all different backgrounds. She realised if you don't ride your bike, it can be quite limiting. She was also frustrated with not being able to fix the bike, so she trained and learned, and she's now a qualified bike mechanic. I can confirm because she's down at Plattfield Park, I've seen her. And she's created at Ladypedal already, which is a space for women to learn how to fix bikes and bring awareness to the lack of diversity within the sector. So can we give a warm welcome to Belinda?
Hello. Wow. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to what is my story. For me, before I talk about my story, for me it's really important that I acknowledge the women who've gone before me. And for me, that's really important. And this is why before I talk about my story, I wanted to talk about this particular woman. This woman is called Kitty Knox, and she was born on October the 7th in 1874. So what it was like then, riding a bike, completely blows my mind. Kitty found work as a seamstress, and her brother was a steam fitter. And it was in an attempt to create a better life in an era that seemed to create limitations for people of colour and also women. So this was also the time of the bicycle boom. So she wanted to be a part of it. And because she wanted to be a part of it, she saved as much money as she possibly could. And she was. She ended up getting herself a bike. Now, when people make comments about Kitty Knox, they always comment on the way that she was dressing. You also got to remember at that time it was very restrictive for women. And Kitty Knox, having the skill as being a seamstress, she changed what would have been long dress skirts. She kind of changed that. So she at that time was going against gender norms, okay? So in 1893, she joined the League of American Wheelmen, and this was also at a time when there was very, very few members that were women. 1 year later, okay, in 1894, the organization decided to change its constitution and made it white only. Exactly, okay, and this was what they called and created a colour bar, okay? Kitty being Kitty didn't take absolutely no, and she continued to go there, and she persisted. She went down to the annual meet. She was refused entry. She was refused entry into hotels. She was refused entry into restaurants, but she continued, and she persisted, and she didn't stop, okay? And through that persistence and that courage and determination, and we also have to remember many, many people who supported her, they overturned it. And she became the first African American to eventually be accepted in the American League of American Wheelmen. So for me, Kitty remained defiant, and she holds a place in a long line of women who have continued to ride their bikes despite being told it isn't for them. And this is why Kitty Knox is known as the Rosa Parks of cycling. If you don't know Kitty Knox, please, after today, read more about her, okay? So that's why for me it was really important. I have to start with her before I can start with me. So now you can roll the next one. Which one is me? Okay, so we were known as the Jackson 4 when we went to school. If if my mum would have had one more, we would have had the whole team would have been known as the Jackson 5, okay? So this was us. My dad was from Jamaica. He now understand bikes. He didn't want to go on a bike. What was a bike? Basically, yeah. So my first introduction to a bike was basically my sister's friend was called Tracy Lee, and she was on something that moved faster than us, and we wanted a part of it. Okay, what's that? So, hold on. So basically, we made friends with Tracy Lee, and we was like, what's this? It's a bike. Brilliant. Let's have a go. And basically, all of us as kids, we taught each other how to ride a bike, and that was my first inkling into riding a bike. It wasn't by my parents. It was just us, the street kids. That's how I learned, okay? And so from then, basically, bikes wasn't really around me. I carried on. I ended up working for the sports development in Manchester, and I ended up doing lots of different types of sports, mainly like kind of traditional sports. And then from there, either cycling found me or I found cycling. And they ended up having the, not far from here, Plattfields, BMX track, okay? And so I got asked whether I wanted to be part of this Plattfields BMX track. So I was like, what's a BMX? It's that bike there. It's really small. What you're supposed to do, you're supposed to sit on it or what? So eventually they explained to me, it's a BMX, adults ride it. Brilliant, okay? Stand up, and you're supposed to start from there, the stop point. So I was like, okay, in for a penny, in for a pound. And next thing I know, I was teaching BMX at Plattfields. And then it rolls to our next one. Oh, too many. Oh, no, you're showing it them all. You're showing them all. Come on, back. No. Yeah, keep going. It's the one with Sinead Reid. Got it, the next one? Okay. So when I was working at Platt, okay, this woman came in, okay? And I was like, okay, she came in, she just walked through and I went, whoa. And I'll never forget. I was like, hold on a minute. And I was like, oh, it's £2.50. And she went, my name's Sinead Reid. And I went, yeah, brilliant. Anyway, £2.50. And she went, no, my name's Sinead Reid. And I went, yeah, my name's Belinda Everett. £2.50. Honestly, this really did happen. And she went, no, my name's Sinead Reid, and I'm part of the GB squad. And I went, oh. All right. And she came in. And at that moment, I had a moment where I was like, how come I don't know who she is? Because I knew Victoria Pendleton, you know, all these other cyclists being completely drummed into me as regards of media. So how come I don't know who she is? She's from the north of England. She's from Crewe. She looks like me. How come I didn't know her? And that was kind of my first inkling as regards of cycling and kind of media and diversity. And from Plattfields, I ended up working over at the National Cycling Centre. And then when I was there, I completely was really opened as to kind of, let's say, location and kind of opportunity. So the kind of the demographic and the people who are coming to Platt and being able to enjoy cycling, very rich, lots of very diverse, lots of opportunities there. And then when I went over to the National Cycling Centre, it was very, very different. But the thing that was the same is there was a lot of talent in both sides of the coin. But the talent over at Platt didn't really go as far as the talent that was over at the National Cycling Centre. And again, for me, is why is that? Why is it the kids over at Platt don't have the opportunities as much as the ones at the National Cycling Centre? And I won't go into it, but there's lots of reasons. So, after I worked there for a bit. I really missed working with kids, and I really missed being back in the schools. So I ended up, you're on that. You're on it today. So I ended up working with an organisation and doing what was called Cycle Proficiency, which I absolutely loved with a passion. I really loved being around the kids, hearing the kids saying very much the same as the adults do, wow, it makes me feel free, I really love it, I really enjoy it, that kind of feeling. But another thing started to come up. And it was very much like, there's this presumption that every kid has a bike. There's this presumption that every kid can ride. There's this presumption with South Manchester that is perceived as this kind of much wealthier part of Manchester. We were delivering bikes to a lot of these areas. So there's a lot of children who don't have bikes. And if they do have bikes, they're not in very good working condition. And I think that's when I kind of, again, my eyes were very open to the fact that bikes and kids and kind of lack of opportunities and kind of all this type of stuff. And again, we won't go into it, but kind of just also laying it out there. And this is, again, when my life took a turn as regards of cycling, because when these bikes used to arrive, sometimes things would go wrong with them. And that's when I was very much like, I don't know how to fix this bike. I'm working with it consistently all the time, but I don't know how to fix it. So how do I do it? But it was okay, because there was lots of guys there and they would just come along. Belinda, it's fine, I'll fix it for you. And that's what they did. They went and they were fixing the bike and was like, no, just hold on, let me fix it. No, darling, it's fine. I'll fix it for you. And that's what and some of them did actually sound like that. I'm not actually making that accent up. They did. And it was really frustrating because I was working with these bikes consistently and I didn't know how to fix it. And the guys, unfortunately, sorry for the men that are in the room, but they wouldn't show us how to fix these bikes. So I had to take it into my own hands, and I'm going to have to learn how to fix it. So that's when I ended up volunteering. No, it's not yet. You can keep it on, put it on. So that's when I ended up volunteering, and when I ended up volunteering, I wanted to learn more about bikes and how to fix them, and then after I was learning more how to fix them, I really loved it. I really loved how it actually slows your mind down. You have to think a lot more logically. You're working a lot with your hands. And every decision that you make is immediate when you're doing bike mechanics. So from there, I ended up getting a sitting in guilds. I have to mention at this point, I was very much supported by this woman over here. Can we give her a big clap? That's Ellen. And this woman over here, Hannah. And for me, it's really important that, I went into bike mechanics, wanted to know more and kind of wanted to hone my skill and ended up getting a sitting guilds. And I became a qualified bike mechanic. And here, this is where Hannah was consistently like, keep going. I built a wheel from scratch and it was frustrating and it was really hard. And Hannah was really tough. But it was worth it, and that's me outside of bike ride, just like, yeah, I absolutely done it. And then I went into the profession, and I was like, okay, where's all the women at? Where's all the brown folk at? Where is everyone? And I really wanted to put this up to actually really try and get across that this is how it is. The bike mechanic sector that I went into, quite naively, I didn't realise it was as bad as it is. And what I mean by that is incredibly unequal. It is mainly white males, and I don't have anything against white males at all before everyone's like, but it is incredibly monoculture, and in that it is very kind of unequal. And so I was wondering why that was the case. And so when I went out there, I ended up eventually working at a few bike mechanic places. And in this particular one, and I'm going to tell you to it absolutely straight, like, I'm not going to romanticize it. Being in the bike industry is like being in the 1940s sometimes. It is tough. And sometimes people see you and it's like their brains just go, oh my God, you're a woman and you've got a spanner in your hands. Whoa! They just, like, something happens, like most of it is positive, but some people struggle. They're just like, wow, this is really surreal. And there was this was from a woman, and she came into the bike shop. And what I really respect about her, she came in and she double took, and she said, I just need to say something. And I said, yeah. She was like, for the first time, I've had to question my normal. And it's like, why is that? She was like, because I've always presumed that there's always a white male, and I've seen you, and I've questioned my normal. And I was like, thank you for being honest. And she was like, can I write an article? So she ended up, her name was Isabel Riley, and she ended up writing an article in the Manc Union, which is really, really, really good. And so I still needed to be around other women, and I needed to be around other women who were bike mechanics, because there is hardly any of us around. And eventually, if to kind of give you a bit of a scope, and probably in the UK, as regards of kind of women-led workshops, there must be about 3 or 4. It's really bad, okay? And eventually I found these guys. These are called Women in Tandem, and they know that I'm mentioning them today, and they are based in Nottingham. If you're ever in Nottingham, go and find them. And even if you're not going in Nottingham, go to there just to see Sherwood Forest, and go and see these guys. Sherwood Forest is great, man. These are unbelievable, and they massively inspire me. And these guys are what I kind of really want to be able to kind of create here in Manchester. They are a women-led workshop, which basically means it's not exclusively for women, but when you walk into the workshop, oh my God, there's 2 women who will fix your bikes for you. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's incredible what they're doing. So from there, got it, Beth. I created Be Pedal Ready, and that basically came out of pure necessity. I got to the point where I was like, if I want to see change, and I want to see more women in the workshop, and I want to see more people who look like me, then I'm going to have to create it, because it's not going to happen any time soon. So that's what I did, is I ended up doing bike mechanic classes. You can keep rolling with these ones. So I did bike mechanic classes. I did some with the kids. For me, the next generation is a huge, huge thing, which we should be investing more in as regards of bike mechanics. And this one was really good. There's very few activities which are intergenerational, and I think cycling is massively one of those. That's what we did there. This was here over at Station South, some evening sessions. This one, you could just hold, I'll be really quick. This one, for me, absolutely blew my mind. I'm from Manchester, and I didn't realise, I got asked to do one at the Chinese Health Information Centre in just off Ancoats. And when they say language need not be a barrier, and it's absolutely true. So I was there, as soon as I walked in, there was 18 people, and I was like, wow, the biggest bike session I've ever done. And they were all stood there, and he ended up doing the bike session, and we had a translator as well at the same time. It was absolutely incredible. So I would do it, she would translate in Chinese, and then they would ask questions, and they would translate it back into English. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the good experiences. And then from there, we did rides for Be Pedal Ready. This was part of Black History Month. That woman over there, so yeah, you can keep going. So we just did kind of lots of rides. Some of you guys are here today from some of the rides that we've done. Annabelle over in the corner. So yeah, and Plattfields, the suffragettes, which I see some of you guys on Sunday. Yeah, and just basically these are some of the rides that we've did. Stop there. Okay, so I'm near towards the end now. I really wanted to just basically stop and actually talk about you for a very small period of time. This is Vidya, and Vidya I knew last year, and she could not ride a bike whatsoever. And through over a period of time, eventually, 1 year later, she is now one of the directors of Be Pedal Ready. She also, myself and her and a few others, are going to be riding from Southport all the way down to Manchester. And she's done that in the space of a year. And I think you're incredible for what you've done. So hats off to you. And there's also one other director, which is Julia. She came to a class, and she's also one of the directors of Be Pedal Ready. So hats off to you as well. All right, I'm going to stop talking now. It's the last 2 slides, all right? So, last one. So, randomly, somebody nominated, or a few people nominated me. I don't know who it was. I'm still trying to figure that one out. And I ended up winning this with a few others, not just me, Anna and Lois, and I don't know if there's anybody else in the room. Yeah, there you are. Well done. We ended up getting this, and I felt absolutely massively... Yeah, you got it as well, did you? You got it the year before. All right. You're coming up next. And so I was absolutely chuffed and massively buzzing by the fact that that I received this, because at the end of the day, I've just created something that I have become just very passionate about and feel that it is a need. Last slide. Right. So I knew this would happen. Usually they say if you either do a picture of dogs, cats or babies, then you usually get that thing. But there's actually a deeper, more poignant reason of why I've ended with this particular picture. This is my niece, Riley, and I started with Kitty Knox. And I started with her because for me it's really important to acknowledge all the women that have absolutely sacrificed and give a lot because they didn't want change. They didn't want us, basically, all of us on bikes. They had to fight for that change for every single one of us women in this room. And so I have to remember them, which means that I am in a point of time where also I am very aware of, hopefully for Riley, that those facts of 91% males and hardly 6-7% women in workshops changes, that we get to see more women on the roads. And this is why I've ended with this particular picture, because everything that I do affects her and affects basically the next generation tomorrow. Thank you for listening to me. That was long.
Wow, thank you, Belinda. What a great talk. So much information. Thank you so much. That was so inspiring. Has anyone got any questions for Belinda?
No.
Oh, yeah, I think somebody at the back.
Sorry. I think what also, what's next? What big plans have you got for the weekend?
Well, on Thursday, I've got a talk with Maxine Peake. That's what's next. Woo! So that's what's next. And basically continuing just kind of what we were doing last year. We've just, Pedal Ready is now a CIC. So we became a CIC in December. So it's just kind of carrying on with that. We've just got some funding from Canal River Trust. So we'll be doing a lot more rides and some maintenance sessions, kind of trying to get more people using the canal. I think this is a big thing with Canal River Trust at the minute, and more women, you guys, fixing bikes and kind of just picking up and kind of getting the confidence to fix things. So more of what was before, really.
Great, thank you. There's a lady with a hand up.
It's on the bike mechanic thing, because it's definitely something that I've been to do for years, and my husband does that and it's terrible, and I'm like, what's that about? But I just look at what he does, that looks too tricky, is it tricky? Is it not? Is it as tricky as it looks when you've not done a bike mechanic
Men
thing?
like to tell us that it's really difficult, but it's not as difficult as they make out.
Is it once you've done it, actually, that what did I fear, or what?
You can fix a bike. It's just, again, bikes, I'm not going to lie, they are complex, but you just start off from the puncture and kind of come to one of our sessions, and you kind of start off from there, and it's just kind of the frustration that I had when I first began and started, and it's the first start is troubleshooting. Okay, why is it making that noise? Why is that happening? I might not be able to fix it, but at least I understand it. And that's where, and it's just understanding how a bike works. Because for me, we all get on bikes and we're all doing it consistently all the time. But when something goes wrong with it, we're like, oh my God, I don't know how to fix it. That type of thing. So it's, honestly, one step at a time. And I think that's what my ultimate dream is when I kind of think Be Pedal Ready is exactly what Women in Tandem is. It's all about confidence. I'm still learning consistently every single day. I'm always asking the boys, how do you do it? How do you do it? And then eventually it kind of clicks in. And I think there needs to be a space. I think that's kind of what I want to be able to create, like those guys, where you can come every Wednesday for the whole of the year, not just a little bit here and a little bit there. And from there, that's when that knowledge will continue to grow. Yeah, exactly. No worries.
Great. We've got another question. This lady here.
Claire?
It might sound an obvious question, but what's your perception for why it is so male dominated, given other sectors perhaps are less so now in 2023? Why is bike mechanics still 91%? That's absolutely shocking. Why is it so bad?
I love that question. I have to think. For me, I think it's the perception of mechanics. So it's that things like what you were mentioning, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's that perception of. So that perception of is very much white male, and so. Why is it still like that today? I don't know. It shouldn't be like that. I think organisations should be doing a hell of a lot more. I don't think they're doing enough. We should be funding women and much more diversity within cycling, and especially mechanics. I think it's woeful in 2023 that it is appalling as it is now. Is those changes happening? No. Why not? Because again, for me, it boils back down to the same thing. Representation matters. If we're not having more people trained and we're not having more women and people of colour in these specific sectors, if people can't see it, why would you think it's for you? Do you know what I mean? Again, in schools, we're not giving kids, or especially young girls, there you go, you can hold a spanner. We're not doing it. Do you know what I mean? And that's why for me it's like for every auntie, for every grandma, for every mother that actually picks up a spanner and actually decides to fix a bike, it's really powerful image. You know, the son and even the dad, like you were saying, kind of goes, oh right, the mother can do it, the grandmother can do it, the auntie can do it. So it's not necessarily about going into the sector and becoming something. Every single one of us can do it, which massively starts to change the ball game and actually changes our idea of what mechanics look like. And it needs to change, because it's really frustrating, and it feels sometimes like a little clique. It feels like the 1940s. They don't have to change. Why are they going to change it? Kitty Knox, I'm changing it. Do you know what I mean? We have to change it. They're not, they don't, it's very bubble-like, so I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Amazing. Was there another question, this lady here?
You work for the council. Is it anyway? We're having the spaces, Claire. Laurel? Any spaces? Right back at you? We'll have a chat. Any ideas? Anywhere. Like somewhere central, obviously, would be really good. Somewhere central and accessible. Central Library. Anna, can we have it here? No, yes, we'd have to look into it, but I think like that's what I really like about where Women in Tandem, their venue is one of the very last few, because I didn't realise we had like women's centres in the whole of the UK, and theirs is one of the very last few where it's kind of like 2 stories, and it's a big safe space for women. Yeah, exactly, like women's centres, and they got rid of them all. Brilliant, England. And theirs is one of the last few, so you can go up the stairs and they kind of got all the different stuff going on, and Women in Tandem are right at the bottom, so you can come down and learn bike mechanics.
Brilliant. Yes, we've got a question from Samira.
So your passion and determination for change is, I want to know, have you come up against any barriers, any blockage?
I have plenty of stories.
How does that feel? Are you able to recognise it straight away?
Of course, you can no, deep, you're going deep questions. Of course you can feel it, like maybe we haven't got the time today. Like I really did at some point, like there are definitely stories where men in the bike shop kind of look at you and kind of very much straight away there's maybe a comment or kind of sometimes the general public, like I said to you before, I'm kind of saying it in the nicest way, is they don't know how to compute with it, and you kind of have to very much think that for every single one of them, there's about 10, 15, 20 people who go, it's amazing what you're doing, keep going. And it's for them that I do it. It's for her that I do it. It's for, you know, being able to pass my knowledge to you guys is why I do it. But yeah, discrimination, sexism, I've had it all. Yeah, you have to ride through it. Why? Because if I want to learn, I have to be part of that sector right now. I can't get away from it. And that's the sad truth about it. I have to be within it to eventually override it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Belinda. We're going to have a short break now, but let's give a big round of applause to Belinda. How wonderful was that?
Thanks.
Yeah, we're going to have a short break about 10